welcome to the Into the Microwave Oven podcast. Here today is just me, Kirann, and I was just doing a little thinking, as you do. And sometimes no one is either in the mood or has a busy schedule and can't record an episode. And since this is mostly weekly, I would like to have backups, being just where I just talk to myself or talk to you guys in general for just a couple of minutes, if not a full episode, just make it interesting. Or maybe I'll compile a lot of these and make a larger episode, make it 30 minutes long instead of just 10 minutes each. Basically, this is where it's a filler episode in an anime. This is what this is. In the microwave oven, a filler episode. Yep. So just basically what's been going on is that sometimes people are a little busy, can't do stuff, or there's just not enough topics to talk about, so we end up just trailing off into things that we've already talked about before. And so I've decided that whenever I can't think of anything, or whenever there's just a lull in conversation, I talk about something random, or an assignment I had in school, and I would talk about that specific question that my teacher asked me, or maybe a little educational purpose video where I kind of just talk about things that people should already know, I feel but don't generally know because of, generational differences or age differences. And obviously I'll tell you in the beginning of the episode, hey, you can leave, whatever, if it gets uncomfortable or if people just aren't interested in that topic. Today I'm talking about, my love of theater, musicals. Not just musical theater, but musical movies, musicals in general, where they'd start to break out in song and dance. And my teacher gave me this question. We just watched West Side Story, the 2021 version of West Side Story. And honestly, I haven't watched the original, so someone without a nostalgic or biased kind of answer, I actually like it. Compared to the original, which I kind of watched briefly on YouTube, I kind of like the new reimagined version better, mostly just of the cinematography and the way it was just much better laid out, and it felt more thoughtful and personal to the actual people who did it, instead of having it 1-to-1 ratio to the Broadway musical from the 1960s. So just personally, I like the new one. And my film studies teacher was you're gonna write me an essay, which I will read you the essay. And here's the thing. Musicals are an incredible art form. They seem to capture emotion profoundly, even as they are as equally hyperbolic. But it is in that exaggeration, the dancing and singing through life, that seems to make them so memorable and real. Explain how the singing and dancing in a musical can so perfectly capture emotion and yet still remain such a departure from the norm. Put it in your own words and use examples from either one of the versions of West Side Story or from another film in the genre that has gotten its message across to the audience and moved something in you. So I made a response, and since I don't want to ramble on too much, I'll try to read my response, section it off so that I can get another word in if I forgot or if I just didn't think of it at this time. And I don't know, this is just gonna be a chill little side episode, side quest, whatever. Let's just see how this works, you guys can listen to me and my writing skills, which is moderate to say the best. This isn't my best writing, but I do like what I came up with. So here I go. As someone who is absolutely in love with musicals, this has also been a question in mind, but I never bothered looking for the answer. Let me first describe many different mediums in which emotions are so clearly defined. With books, it is very simple to be able to use the eloquence of language to portray feelings. With the foresight of motivations, sometimes the perceptions of characters, it is quite easy to sympathize with them and understand/relate to them. If a character had a motivation to be a doctor because of their feelings of helplessness when their father died in front of them, you can understand how absolutely heartbroken they would be when their knowledge and training failed them when they needed to fix their very best friend. The power of language is one that no one can deny. With the plethora of words and how we can string it together to pull at the heartstrings, invoking emotions to the reader is actually quite simple. So basically, in this section, I just kind of like go off, vocabulary. I'm kidding. No, yeah, like with normal books, it's easy. Like Bridget Terabithia, you know the main character's foresight, how he was kind of lonely at school, finally got a friend, and all of a sudden she dies. Not a spoiler warning, because if you haven't watched it, you haven't watched it. It's been out for so long. I'm not responsible. And I don't care. And like Harry Potter, you know the character well enough, you know them well enough so that when in the final battle, the Battle of Hogwarts, you're so invested in everyone that you can finally feel their turmoil, you know their motivations enough so that you actually feel for them. And some writing advice I always get is that know their motivations, their flaws, what they want to do in life, and how can you make that as hard to reach as possible. Especially in writing, it's very easy to give all that information, especially if you're a narrator, or if you're like the third person omniscient where you know everything, or if you're just like actually in first person, so you know exactly how they are feeling. With movies, we get the music in the background. In most movies, we do not know inner monologues. We can, although, know insight, but inner dialogue is a very useful tool to get the reader's emotions, which movies often lack. However, with the movie Psycho, 1960, we feel their feelings of fear with the musical composition in the background. The sharp violins and the steady crescendo gets us to the edge of the seat. I don't know if I used the word crescendo right. Not really a music major or anything like that. Not really that experienced with like musical vocabulary or what the specifics mean. But I do know, just studying the music of Psycho, and in any like good movie, they'll have some kind of backtrack, right? And you can kind of feel that sense of emotion just with the backtrack. Not only with backtrack, which I didn't write down here, but you can see people's expressions, you can see like closeness of character. So if there's a relationship between a character, if they're in their parents, you'll see some kind of level of closeness. If they're like romantic partners, you'll see them kissing and whatever, you'll see that. You can see intimacy, and with good acting comes good like know-how. Like these characters, you can infer their insight without inner dialogue, and it's like better proven with the music. You kind of just there's a you're in that world. There doesn't have to be some kind of suspension of reality, because in most movies, when if they're not like fantasy, you're grounded in that world. Even in like Harry Potter, I'll go back to there. Even in Harry Potter, in the music, you can feel the fantastical nature. You can look at the expressions when Dumbledore gets ultimately killed by Snape. You know his intentions. Again, all of this is very important. With art as a whole, it is also pretty simple to get the reader's attention. Color theory and the way expressions or poses are drawn are very essential to the readers. Impressionism and the strokes of the pigments can also invoke emotions. Sometimes art also mimics life. They can portray images that we feel strongly towards, politically, emotionally, personally, etc. So, art as an artist it's very easy to get that string of emotions to the readers, and without like the sense of eloquency I'm getting from the writing, since I didn't like put it down even though I thought of it, because I wanted the eloquency to be there. With strokes, right, when you're painting or when you're drawing, you can easily find the expression and the dynamic like composition with the strokes you're making. So if they're like fast, if you're like pressing hard down, it's very easy to see impressions on the page. You can feel kind of that expression, especially when you're drawing with some kind of emotion. It's easier to find those imperfections in art but they would kind of like, it's not imperfections per se, but it's more like something that gives your art a little flavor. You can absolutely feel that instead of like something you're very like mechanically doing. In like if you're told to do a project where you're supposed to shade a sphere, right? You won't feel anything from that because it's something that you're told to do and it's kind of a technical thing that you have to learn in art. But in like art pieces, in free drawings, you know, if there's emotion behind it, or if there's motivation, some kind of relevance in that person's life, or like they're just making a story, or like character design, anything really, you can feel that emotion they have behind that character, or you can feel like they're trying to feel the emotion they're trying to let out. And just again, with the lines, the strokes, the variations, and all of this, the colors they use, just the way they drew the pose, the way they drew the style in which they drew it, like it could be impressionism, abstract, it could just be like simple character design, and it could range from like Arcane's kind of character designs to like, I don't know, Steven Universe or something, and you can feel like the context with the styles too, so like you can get a lot from that. You know, like just as an art person. So, now we get to musicals. Books can easily put us in a different reality simply because we cannot see it. Movies can suspend our beliefs because the music is subtle enough and we understand the world they place. Art is abstract enough in most senses that we do not care how realistic it is, but appreciate it for what it represents, like in animation kind of mediums, you know? So, what about musicals? How do musicals work then? How do musicals work when it is real people singing their innermost emotions in monologues? Let's get into the concept of music again. I've mentioned this during the movie art form, but the music is important in conveying emotions. In the balcony scene tonight, it's an example of using the same violence to extract that soft and curious notion of love. The hints to the Song of Maria are soft, happy, and light. Tony is in love, and we know this because of the music alone, and that's just the background music. Now it's powerful because of how they sing each other's name. Softly, adoration is shown, and it is said with such care. When they start duetting, the music picks up the tempo, the words become faster out of their mouths. They are excited, and we can feel that excitement. Now let's go with the inner monologues of the book technique. G. Officer Krupke clearly shows the inner thoughts of the Jets as a whole. Sure, it's a song of irony and is what they say to officers to get out of tough situations. However, the way they convey and think of things on the fly reveals that there are some truths to situations they are thinking of. Now, one of the techniques in art is to draw something that can relate to people seeing it. In America, it shows the strife of the minorities living in America, the pros and cons of living there. People listening and seeing them dance about whether they should stay or go can relate. Immigrants still exist, obviously. Many of them left to America for what it can bring, even though it can be disappointing. This relatability can bring people in. Now the dancing. Dancing can easily convey emotions, the sharp edges, anger, and temper, the slow rising and falling of the arms, sadness, worry, maybe even a softer emotion, love. The sharp steps would be anger and temper. Again, dancing isn't something I really know in depth of why it works, but working again with dynamic poses in art, the way the body moves or is portrayed can show emotions. The shoulders and how they are placed are very telling. High shoulders, stress, tension, anger. Neutral can be happiness or just ease, and lower shoulders, comfortability, sadness, and hopelessness. I'm gonna quote someone on YouTube, Rebecca Parham. She's a YouTuber called Let Me Explain Studios, and she says something around that shoulders are basically the eyebrows of the body, in which it's easy to emote without the use of facial expressions. Like the body itself, the shoulders can just emit that much energy. Match this with the tempo of the dance and the expressions made when dancing, and emotions are portrayed easily. Now to the point. Musicals work because the emotions they are able to portray through song and dance are stronger than the concept of reality the viewers have. emotions are strong in the sense that most people would be too busy feeling for the characters and their situations that they would not care as much for how realistic the musical is in the fact that they are dancing and singing to convey such emotion. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was my paper. Whatever, right? I mean, I thought it was a very interesting question, and I was very tempted to search it up, and I had like a stroke of genius when he was like giving us these questions. And I kind of thought it interesting because I know a lot of people were wondering this, and I know there are a lot of people out there who don't like musicals for the exact reason that they're dancing and singing, and it's kind of like unrealistic. But I think for the people who do like musicals often have this kind of question, and I think it's kind of like just my input. Like, and I'm not right. I could be wrong, obviously, but this is just kind of my perception in an artistic kind of way, like in a way that I consume lots of manga, lots of comic books, lots of art. I consume lots of musicals, I consume lots of books and I guess movies, but not a lot of them, but I do like franchise, whatever. I just think it's interesting to look at it in an artistic kind of point of view with the expressions, especially since I did AP psychology and I thought maybe I can put a little bit of that in here, just based on how strong emotions really do affect how you perceive things, especially in situations where you can relate. Anyway, watch West Side Story. Don't watch it on Disney Plus. They're crazy, and Disney doesn't deserve money right now. But watch it. I'm not telling you to pirate it. I'm not, because if someone asks you if I told you to pirate it, no, I didn't. You know what to do. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I just kind of wanted to have this little thingy for you guys whenever we don't have an episode ready or we haven't planned an episode yet, because we don't want to rush our process. We don't want to stress each other out. And these are just here for backup. So if you don't hear this in a while, it's April 8th right now. So this comes out in June or September. Don't even be surprised. Whatever. Anyway, that's Kirann's Corner. Go eat your favorite hot pockets and boil some tea. Good night.